Good evening, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Carpo After Dark. For those of you who aren't familiar with Carpo After Dark, it's me, After Dark, talking about whatever the topic may be. I used to do these all the time, and then for a while I didn't make them, and I started doing them in the summer when it's really nice out. And I'm up at the park here. I have my camera on night vision for what it's worth. Kind of pointless. I decided to take my husky Lucy up here to let her run at the park. And I brought my camera along. And I wanted to talk for a minute about life. As it's spring, I see the daffodils, aka Narcissus, already coming up. And they always come up in early March, along with the, I believe the crocus, if I'm not mistaken. Several different flowers that pop up this time of year that are usually bulbs. Hey, Lucy. She's having a great time. So fresh and clean. Clears out I just love the smell of that pre-spring smell. I can just smell the flowers in the air, just everything wanting to bloom. And it's kind of what I'm here to talk about. Just the amazingness of life. I was thinking about what the human hands can craft. I was thinking about some of the things I built in my day, and then some of the things that people who are 10 times more dedicated than me have built. Amazing structures, which really, honestly, everything we've done as humans relies on, generations. The term "on the shoulders of giants" is always applicable. It means that everything that we have, it's been created through other people, making it easier for us. At any rate, Lucy. Yeah, we as human beings have come a long way. And the fact that we can sit here and consciously discuss our feelings and thoughts and ideas in a coherent manner is something I just feel is so overlooked. Something that's so overlooked in the sense that I can't believe so much bullshit goes on out there. I can't believe there's just so much fighting and hatred, violence. And it's not that I'm ignorant about it. I understand why it happens. It happens because of ignorance. And it happens because people don't understand, or they don't have things that they need to survive, or they blame others for their problems. But when you get right down to it, why do we have problems? Humans have lived in harmony for thousands of years in various places in the world. Not every civilization has had trouble and strife the way that we have in recent centuries, but it's because we expect continuous growth. We're not content with just what we have. But we're so busy groveling and arguing about what's true and what's real and what's right and who owns which patent, that we completely forget to just appreciate our mere existence. I mean, I'm standing here looking at the trees, the crescent moon. It's so beautiful, just so beautiful. It's just going down between those two trees. When I look out my window, even into the backyard, I appreciate everything. All the plants. Even the tree that fell down and took down my power line, it's still laying out there. It's become a log, a beautiful log, and every insect and every fungi that grows out of that log just makes me grateful. Watching the decomposition process and acknowledging that through life comes death and there's no way around it. It's the circle. And there's so much beauty in that I'm just blown away that we can't carry that awareness in our hearts more often and for longer. There are brief moments of awareness. They can be found through intense prayer or intense meditation or an intense psychedelic experience, all of them which tickle that part of the brain, which makes us believe that something's more important than it really is. Or maybe it is. But the point isn't whether it is important or not, because ultimately, when you get right down to it, that is the root of nihilism, to realize that nothing's important. Therefore, we create what is important. For each individual, we don't know what is important until we decide. For society, of course, certain things are important. Having children is important to continue the human species, right? Or, various animals and insects are all part of a food chain. There are certain things that just are what they are. But as an individual, you have many choices. And you can choose to embrace life. You can choose to stand here. I just looked up and I see Orion's belt. I love looking up at the stars, what few I can see here, and seeing that I wouldn't be able to even come up with the same constellations. They're ridiculous. But at any rate, human nature, I believe, is good, curious, yearning for more, yearning for connection, yearning for love and acceptance, as well as just, an ability to get Lucy, an ability to run at the park with their husky, something that simple. It's just, maybe I'm just a dreamer. Maybe I just think that things are more, simpler than they are. But the older I get, the more I understand that there's nothing to understand. Meaning that you create your own reality, you create your own happiness. You create everything. If you look back on the times in our life when we were upset, how many times was it something that we either couldn't control, so it didn't matter, or B, really didn't matter at all? The first step is letting go of the bullshit in life. That means letting go of past quarrels, arguments, debates, especially with ourselves. And that's kind of the final note on what I really wanted to touch on most importantly. Honesty is probably the best policy we can have in our lives. We know this. Even though we all bullshit, we all lie sometimes, but not necessarily in the way that you might think. Leaves. We lie in the sense that we just make up little fibs, little things that don't matter very much. Maybe we're talking about, I caught a 14-inch trout. I'm like, well, okay. It was a puny little trout. These are more like fibs. But what they are is ways to boost our own egos, because ultimately we care about others' acceptance. And we want to, be accepted for who we are. And so being honest, that's in the eye of the beholder when it comes to other people. But I'm talking about honesty with yourself. Complete honesty with yourself regarding what's important in your life, what's not. Our addictions, our hold-ups, our hang-ups, things that we should do, things that we shouldn't do. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of problems because I'm brutally honest with myself. And they mostly involve not doing things I should do, rather than doing things that I regret doing, because I don't do a lot of things I regret. But ultimately, that comes down to the irony in it. From what I understand, the ultimate regret is in not doing. And there's an old saying that goes along the lines somewhat of, you don't regret the things that you tried and failed at. You only regret the things you never tried. And I found that to be true. You only live once, as far as we know. So don't fool yourself. Get out there and experience things. Get out there and do something awesome with your life. Get out there and I'm not talking about go climb some stupid mountain. Fuck that. I have no desire to climb up Everest, and I have no desire to go base jumping or, adrenaline junkies. It's just another high. It's the same thing. You're always chasing it. Chasing the dragon. Steeper cliffs. Longer jumps. Higher mountains. No. I'm talking about the ability to feel completely happy and content and accomplished just sitting there with a couple of your kids on some summer evening by a lakeside camping. looking at your family, roasting some s'mores by the fire, and just thinking about what it means to be alive. And that, my friends, is a blessing to even have the option. And I just wanted to touch on that this evening and remind everyone that what's most important is right there in front of us, even though half the time we can't see it. Just like me walking here basically in the dark. You know, I know that I know my way around, I can generally see. But in the daytime, it's completely bright. And it's somewhat like the allegory of Plato's cave, where, you know, people just see basic shapes of what they think is true. And then when they open up to the reality of what they're really capable of, inside, I'm talking about contentedness inside. I think people mistake this for like being able to go out and do amazing things and be recognized and be a famous artist. It's not about that. It's about self-recognition. And that's why self-honesty is what's important. And that's what I mean about honesty. Just doing our best. And even acknowledging that when we're not doing our best, sometimes that's the best we can do. So that, my friends, is Carpo's philosophy for the evening. And I hope you have a great one wherever you may be. Let me see how much time I've been on this thing, because I have the camera kind of sideways here. I guess it's been about 11 minutes or so. It's still recording though, that's a good sign. So I'll talk to you all soon, and say hi to your grandma if you still have one, or your grandpa if you still have one. I don't. I haven't had any grandparents really, but didn't really know them that well. But that's okay. That's okay. Maybe that's a final note that I should leave on. And the most important thing when it comes to acceptance and all this shit, talking about self-honesty, the most crucial thing that we have to be honest with ourselves about is our mortality. And I mean that, like, sincerely. We really have to ponder it. Remember, there's a saying, memento mori. It's remember you will die. And another one I love is amor fati, which means love your fate. And both of them, blah, they're just stupid terms in some other language, right? Do they really mean anything? No. But they do, if you're willing to look at it closely and realize that the reason quotes like that endure, simple quotes, is because they've been known through history to be some of the most crucial things we can do. To remember our fate and to remember we will die. It's just to say, meh, I can get on with my life and have a good time. We're all going to have moments where we're fearful. We're all going to have moments where we're anxious. But we just got to move past it. Peace out, my friends. Have a great night. Thanks for coming to Carpo's channel, yo. Yeah.